Hey, have you ever wondered what's the same on a Polaris Factory Pro R race machine versus a stock rig? Well, I've got my good buddy Andy Ives here to tell us all about it. Stay tuned for more. All right, so Andy, why don't you tell everybody what it is you do here and kind of how long you've been at Polaris?
Yeah, my name is Andy Ives. I've been at Polaris for about 16 years now. Most of that time was working on the RZR platform, starting back in the days of the original 850 horsepower RZR 800 all the way up through Pro R, and the last 2 years working on the race program.
You know, as you think about kind of the two vehicles that we've got sitting here today, obviously we got a brand new model year 25 Pro R, right, straight off the showroom floor. And then we've got this beautiful Gen 2 race machine, right? So as I start looking at these, obviously, like all this front plastic looks exactly the same, right? Hood, upper fenders, lights, fascia.
Yep.
I mean, how hard was it to be able to graft some of that stuff over to get this second gen race machine, you know, set up to look mostly like the factory RZR from the front?
Yeah, from an aesthetic standpoint, you nailed it. You know, all this front fascia is right from the production vehicle. But under the hood, you take that thing off here and you can see all the similarities and differences.
Nice. So as we start looking here, Andy, there's a couple other things I noticed that look like they're pretty much stock right off a production rig. So coming down, shocks look maybe slightly modified, but pretty darn close. But when we get down like to the hub, the lower control arm, all that stuff looks just like it does on the factory Pro R, right?
100%. Really the only thing we did on the suspension in the front was to make an adjustable upper control arm to adjust camber and caster. Different scenarios when you're racing, you know, you don't have to worry about that for the production vehicle as much. So the durability, the strength, the performance of the other components were spot on and good for racing.
Nice. So even as I go back here and look kind of at the steering system, it looks like, you know, kind of that powered steering rack is exactly the same down in here. But maybe just a difference in tie rod end to go to the uniball out at the end, right?
Yeah, exactly. Again, trying to maximize as much as we could all the production vehicle components. Steering rack is 100% the same. We did change some tie rods to make a little bit additional strength. As you are more likely to hit stuff, obviously, when you're bombing through the desert. But yeah, again, taking the really good parts that we have in the production vehicle, carrying them over to the race vehicle makes my life a lot easier.
Nice. Well, I see we got a bunch of parts over on the bench. Maybe let's head over there and kind of walk through those one by one. All right, so Andy, what all do we have here on this table?
Yeah, what we're showing here is pretty much all the components that are common with the race vehicle as well as the production vehicle. So right here in your hands is the upper control arm, or upper knuckle, as well as the unitized hub assembly. This is 100% the same as you see in the production Pro R. It's the same fasteners, the same hub, and the same knuckle itself.
Yeah, so right here where the wheel bolts on, right, half shaft comes through the middle spline part. These attach to the upper and lower control arms, so pretty simple operation here. All right, next one here is, well, we've got one in the A-arm and we've got one outside, but the lower ball joint, right?
Yeah, that's the lower ball joint as well as the whole lower control arm is 100% the same. This control arm has been in production for the beginning of the vehicle in Pro R, and it's been really good, really solid. If you look at it, you know, it's stamped, really nice welds, really nice part.
Nice. And not only is the ball joint the same, but like the spherical where the shock hooks up and the bushings where it connects to the frame are the same too, right?
Yeah, 100% the same part number that you can buy off the website today.
Yeah, and same, I mean, we don't have them here, but all the fasteners that attach everything, same bolts, right?
Yep.
All right, the next one here, you know, I recognize the part, but this one's actually a little bit different, and I think maybe an upgrade from model year 25, right?
Yeah, you got it. If you notice here, this is the thermostat cover that goes on the engine. The one thing that you'll notice here is it's a one-piece casting with all of the machined fittings. Previous years, we actually had a multi-piece assembly where the fittings were pressed in, and as we're developing the race vehicle, testing, putting it through extreme kind of duty cycles, taking the learnings we have in the race vehicle, doing what we can to incorporate those into the production vehicles so that everybody has a better experience in the future.
Nice. So as we think about it though, other things engine-wise, obviously we got a thermostat sitting here, right? No difference at all.
100% the same, exactly.
Yeah, okay, nice. Oil filter, I mean, I even recognize this part number from changing oil on my rigs, right? No difference at all. And if we bounce down to the end, we got a few oil bottles sitting here. Same oil that you can run on a production rig too, right?
Yeah, so engine oil, the PS4 Extreme, really good stuff from LubeTech. We use that stuff, it works really great. And then same with our drive oils. We have the drive oil for the front drive, transmission, and rear drive. 100% production oils that you can buy from your dealer today.
Nice. All right, let's get back up here to kind of where we were. So talking, engine oil, oil filter, obviously we got, a bunch of different electronics sitting on the bench here too. And even though this factory race machine runs a different engine controller and harness, all pretty much of the engine sensors and actuators and injectors are the same, right?
Yeah, 100% O2 sensors, map sensors, injectors, You know, all the components of the engine. Really, actually, so far to date, we haven't run a different engine. The engine that we have in our race vehicle is 100% a stock production engine. Everybody thinks we have this like hopped up engine and we're just beating everybody because of that, but it's really a production part that we use and have had really good success with it. So
nice. And a lot of times I think people often think too, like, hey, these guys are swapping engines every single time. And really that's not the case, right? A lot of times you guys are doing oil samples to make sure the engine's in good shape, topping it back off, and it runs multiple races.
Yeah, we take oil samples from all the drives, transmissions, engine, in an effort to try to learn what that durability cycle is and how long that part lives. We do the same thing with all suspension components. We track the life of those components in order to understand how long they can live, what they've been through, and then taking those learnings again from the race vehicle and the race team and pouring that right back into the production vehicle and development for that one for the future years.
Nice. All right, continuing back. The next thing we got here is a little bit of candy to look at, but exhaust-wise, this is a bone stock head pipe. I mean, the flange, the piping, the collector, the O2 bung, everything, right?
Yeah, again, you know, online you see everybody says bolt-on, slip-on exhaust plus 100 horsepower or something, and it turns out we've tried those and put them on our dynos, and really it's not the case. Our powertrain team spent many, many hours in the dyno, on the field, and, you know, driving these vehicles with our test drivers as well as our race mechanics and team, learning a lot, and honestly, we haven't got anywhere that shows that anything other than the stock part is better. So. Hence, we run the stock part.
Nice. All right, so the next one back here is something that a lot of people may not actually recognize, right? But so kind of what is this thing and what does it do on the RZR?
This is called the PTO. This actually comes assembled on the transmission today from Team Industries. Basically, it's a coupler between the transmission and the clutch. So the spline shaft on the one side goes into the transmission, and then the tapered shaft on the other side is what attaches to your primary clutch.
Nice. So this is what most people are used to seeing if they've got a primary clutch off, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of clutches, maybe let's go there next, and I'll grab the primary that actually goes on that. And looking at this thing, I mean, visually, this looks like a bone stock clutch. What's different?
Again, it is 100% the production assembly part number. The one thing we do change, we run 35-inch tires on the race vehicles, so we accommodate for that in the system by lightening the weights up. We run the elevation weights that are 110 grams versus the production 117-gram weights. But the spring, the sheaves, the whole other assembly is 100% the same. So really it's just a weight change on the primary clutch. And then jumping to the secondary clutch here, a very similar story. You know, it's the sheaves are production, everything's the same, same baffles, same fasteners, same helix. There isn't a difference on this one. It's 100% the same.
That's awesome.
Same rollers.
Same rollers, same everything. I can get it back together. All right, next one here I see is a set of shift cables here. And these are basically what we use for the first few years of production. Now I know, because I got to take a look at the stock model year 25, that these have actually been upgraded now. So I think you guys are also going to get those for the factory race machines, right?
Yeah, listen to your shop talk and learn some stuff. So I decided we should probably upgrade ours as well. So we'll be having the new, the same model year 25 cables in the race vehicle as well.
Nice. All right, continuing back then, we got a couple shafts here. So first one is what?
This is the rear prop shaft. This goes between the rear drive and the transmission on Pro R.
So super simple. You got standard, you know, U-joints in it with grease zerks, right? Nothing's different.
This is 100% a production component. We have been dabbling with some go fast stuff here on the front prop shaft, as well as working on some stuff on the rear prop shaft. So more to come there.
Stay tuned.
We'll start showing that stuff hopefully soon.
All right, now I got to see how strong my left arm is because these half shafts are not light. But anything different on this rear half shaft?
Again, it's the same exact assembly, same boot, same CV, same shaft itself as a production part. We do absolutely nothing to it. Every now and again, you know, we do see some ballooning of the boots, so we will vent them potentially during some of the hot races, but it's exactly the production part again.
Nice. All right, looks like we got one more on the bench here we got to talk about. What do we got here?
This is the rear knuckle assembly, similar to what you saw on the front. Again, we use a stock hub that goes in here. The one difference we have changed is we swapped out the production bearing for the toe link with an FK bearing. So again, the duty cycle of race is quite a bit different than normal consumer use. So that's one thing we're seeing a little bit of more wear on. So in order to make our life a little easier in race world, we've had a little bit better bearing in there. And again, this is the part that we're working on. It should be available here shortly to be able to purchase from your website or your dealer as well.
Nice. All right, well, Andy, I think we got through everything on the bench. I think let's take a minute now on kind of, since we're in the back of this vehicle, let's just have you point out all the other things that are the same that we maybe don't have off. so we can show the folks at home all the other parts that truly are the same. All right, so Andy, there's a ton of stuff that we showed everybody on the bench, but I think just so they could see exactly where some of this stuff goes in real life, do you mind pointing out and kind of showcasing what some of the parts are that are the same as the factory or production Pro R?
You bet. We already kind of talked about the exhaust. The head pipe on the factory race vehicle is exactly the same as the production vehicle. Moving down, again, the same things on the rear half shaft. Again, 100% the same as the production vehicle. Moving inboard, we talked about the prop shaft here that connects the transmission to the rear drive. That's production, as well as the rear drive itself right back here where the half shafts go in. These motor mounts here are actually 100% the same, as well as the mounts that attach the chassis to the engine. All that is 100% the same as the production vehicle. Moving out to the wheel ends, again, the knuckles being very similar, but with one different bearing on the toe link. And then moving forward, again, a little bit here on the shock side, again, we use DYNAMIX dual valve. On the production vehicle, we use the DYNAMIX same shocks. On the race vehicles, but we have some different tuning. We add these, fancy coolers to the shocks as well. As we talked about before, this 2-liter Pro Star Fury engine is production as well. It's the same thing you'd buy on the production line today. Stock head pipe, as you see here, as you talked about on the bench, but we do add a little bit of a heat wrap here just to keep the shock from over-temping. We mentioned that, we already have coolers on here, but Baja's rough. So we had to dissipate that energy somehow through heat. And this thing does produce some heat as well. So trying to keep our shocks as cool as we can just by wrapping the pipe a little bit. So we see here is our chase bar. It's one of the requirements for racing in the desert. Obviously it's very dusty. People are going around and passing people at high speed. So this is just a safety thing. So people can actually see where you are. And this is actually the exact same light you can buy from PG&A today. So you go to the website, you can order that thing up. Same exact part we run. So proves the durability of those parts are really top notch. Going a little bit more inboard here, you can kind of see it. It's a little hard to see, but the clutch covers, we talked about the clutches themselves. Those are very similar. The same on the secondary, just different weight on the primary clutch. The clutch cover on the inner and outer is exactly the same as the production vehicle. Our ducting is a little bit different. This one looks very similar, but actually it's a little different for the outlet duct. And all of our intakes are a little bit different based on our chassis configuration. But really, like the production, clutch system is so good. We haven't had any issues with belts at all. So it's really a good testament to the Pro R, how good it is and how we can beat it up in Baja and not have any problems with it.
I was gonna say, it looks like you got a spare belt, clipped up on the side here. And I think if you can get that camera up here, this is a standard Polaris part, stock part number, everything, right?
Yeah, 100%. We've ran how many races now and we haven't had to swap the belt. So this thing's been stuck here for a while, so.
So when you're getting into the throttle hard, I mean, this thing will really rock, right?
Yeah, the thing will eat, and again, the suspension's really good as well. A vehicle, different chassis, but the suspension points are the same. We had to tune the shocks a little bit. Obviously, the weight of this race vehicle is so much different compared to a stock vehicle. So we had to change our spring rates, had to change the valving in the shock, but the suspension points are, again, the awesomeness of Pro R carried over to race, and we didn't have to even make any of those changes. It just worked.
Nice. And looking back here in the back, even this lower radius rod looks like a pretty standard high clearance one to me, right?
Yeah, exactly. Lower radius rods are production. Again, the goodness of the production parts carrying through.
Yeah, nice. All right, let's move up to the cockpit, because I don't think there's a lot that's the same up here. But I do notice a new controller that I think went in from model year 25 for DYNAMIX, right?
Yeah, exactly. We have the controller, as you see, for DYNAMIX in the middle of the cockpit here. We've been working with a new controller here for the last year and a half, 2 years on the race program. And that's another part that we've been able to develop with the production teams. And as the production model year 25 vehicles come out, carrying the technology that we've been developing, co-developing with them into production, shaking out any issues, any bugs in the software to, again, have a better experience when customers come in and buy vehicles off the showroom.
Nice. So Andy, I snuck around the back here, but as we get up to the front then, we already talked about some of the things like the powered steering rack up here. You look, the actual casting of the front drive, all the gears and bearings inside, hubs, all that stuff is exactly stock. Really the only difference are these machine spacers. So on the race machine here, the rubber isolation gets removed and a hard mount gets put in because we're less worried about the vibration and some of the noise that might radiate from that in favor of just having it be locked in location in the frame. I think the other thing I see that looks very similar to me as well is on the front stabilizer bar here, right? The drop link and this cast arm are exactly the same, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. We mount our front sway bar a little different on a production vehicle. There's actually like clamps and plastic bushings that attach it to the chassis. We actually use our chassis here as our mount for our front sway bar. So the bar goes inside the chassis, and then again, like you said, Pat, the outer arms and drop links are 100% production as well.
Nice.
So again, utilizing the goodness of Pro R, like I don't want to have to tool all this stuff up and spend a bunch more money for this program. So we're able to make this thing happen and not have to spend a ton of money because we could use so much of the carryover stuff from the production vehicle.
All right, Andy, just want to say thanks for taking us through all the similarities between the bone stock Pro R and these Polaris Factory Racing Pro Rs. Obviously, when we think about things like suspension points, lower control arms, front drives, steering, shafts, rear drives, transmissions, engines, clutches, belts, there's a ton on this race machine that is being grafted back into the production units, right?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, the Pro R vehicle itself is so awesome. It was a great platform to be able to build this factory race team off of. And through development on the production vehicles, through development on the race vehicles, melding that stuff together and really pumping that stuff back into the production plan and able to come out with these new 25s and future programs that have even better parts to them is really exciting to see, and it's going to be awesome when the customers get them in their hands.
Nice. Well, that's it for this episode of Shop Talk. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you want to see next time.